She was like, "That I promise that feeling goes away." And I was like, "When I jump, I feel like I've left."
Where is it? Can anyone
Where'd you
find
go,
it?
pelvic floor?
Hello and welcome to Artversations, a meditative conversation about the artistic process. My name is Brie, like the cheese. I'm your host, and I'm checking in to ask, how is your creative inspiration flowing today? Are there any blockages prohibiting you from expressing your authenticity? Where in your body can the inspiration flow more freely? I'm asking this for myself as well. Especially when I reach a point of exhaustion, it's hard to remember to allow the inspiration to flow in and out. I'm sure you can even hear it in my voice. But even in tiredness, I hope you know how thrilled I am that you made it to the podcast. Stay a while. Today, we round out a 3-episode series with dance theater company Frog in Hand. The last 2 episodes were centered around their summer company activities, wherein I had the joy of speaking with stage production worker Jada Wallace and past company dancer and remounter Mika Baltman. And we chatted about the production aspects and the choreographic aspects of the summer season. Be sure to check out those episodes once we have concluded this listening experience. Now we can finally reveal the final guest artist for today's episode. And holy shit, this episode was powerful to listen back to. I've known this human for about 3 years now, and it's been an absolute treat to coexist as colleagues and dancers in Frog in Hand Summer Company. She's a multifaceted movement coordinator and facilitator based out of Mississauga. We talk about our perspectives working inside of the company as dancers, past jobs that no longer serve her as an artist, and she even shares her experience as a mother of a 2-year-old. If you are considering combining parenthood and a professional dance career, this artist opens up about her complex journey, sharing the ups, the downs, and the beautiful discoveries along the way. As well, you'll hear about the many pieces this artist will be performing in during our upcoming show, Summer Dances, which premieres July 11th, 12th, and 13th, as well as 18th, 19th, and 20th at the Art Shelter. Tickets can be purchased in the description, and we are almost sold out, so join us. This episode was made possible by the Arts Activation Residency. The Art Shelter is a new home for Mississauga-based dance theater company, Frog in Hand, located off-grid in a geo-desic dome. I am so grateful to have collaborated with Frog in Hand yet again on these episodes. Thank you to the whole team, Colleen Snell, Jessica Sen, Mandy McLean, Alice Kavanaugh, Andrew Gabriel, Mika Baltman, and the entire summer company for making this summer so special. Now let's settle in together and learn more about the summer company. Here is 45 minutes with Taylor Bojanowski. Yeah, end of week 4. And I'm a blob.
A big blob.
A big blob. How are you feeling in this current moment in time?
I am feeling tired.
We're a little bit delirious brain right now because of a long day.
And the heat.
And
we finished a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And we started other things.
We finished the fall this week.
Yesterday.
That was yesterday.
That was yesterday.
Yesterday.
I know, like things that like happened this morning feels like a week ago.
Truly.
But in like a good way, not a bad way.
No, absolutely. The time is existing on a different kind of plane.
Yeah.
At the Art Shelter.
Yes.
And we were sort of in different spaces today too. Like right now we're in the Heather, but we were at the Small Arms building.
And then we went to Colleen's house.
Mm-hmm.
And created in the park with the lake and the geese.
Do you like being outside when you rehearse?
I think it depends on the piece. Like, I think certain people's work is fine outside, but today when we were outside, we started with Deja's piece, which I think parts of it work okay outside.
Mm-hmm.
But then we switched to Claire's piece, Claire and Jeff, and I'm not in that. So I was working on my solo that Griffin is choreographing, and that doesn't work well outside.
Okay.
Because I do really have to use the floor, and I have a lot of different transfers of weight and like rotation and just things in the grass, and then pavement doesn't work because I'm like crawling. So it just didn't work well doing it full out outside, so I didn't get to really practice that full out yet, which is hard because Griffin is so unique in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to embody that and how they move, because we're alternating within the shows, right? So it's beautiful to have both, but I also want to make sure I'm staying true to the image and the concept that they are looking for. So it's definitely an adjustment on my quality and my textures. So I was hoping that we had the dome today and we didn't, but that's okay because it probably would have been very hot, and I'm willing to adjust to not have heat stroke.
No, absolutely. And it's kind of like a lesser of two evils situation right now, like because we're doing daytimes rehearsals, and either we're on a soft surface in the dome, feeling good and like battling
very
the heat
sweaty
exhaustion, or we're outside and there's sticks and twigs on the ground
and not shade always. And when we go other places, we can find shade.
It's kind of a fun sort of battle between human versus nature with this company.
100%. And I think that that's honestly one of Colleen's biggest inspirations is like, how can it be both and?
Right.
I think that that's pretty spectacular. And just like the carbon footprint and all of the things, that's like, it's also our responsibility to help the earth and the world and everything, the environment.
When we started taking care of the dome, like having
our little chores
after the day, it immediately reminded me of taking
care
of the land.
This is our home. This is our, like, one thing. But it's nice. I do like the fact that it's a job that I'm not stuck inside a studio with no windows and like with the AC cranked, and sure, it's like a nice marley floor and it's perfectly sprung and things like that. But there's also downfalls to being in a space. There's mirrors and we get stuck with the mirrors, and then the AC's cranked and you're actually cold and your body can't warm up properly, and there's all these other factors, whereas here you're just like, sure, it's hot and sure there's not always shade, but like you are so deeply connected to yourself because you have to be so self-aware as to where you are and what your body's feeling that day, and how to communicate that with your boss, but also with yourself and with whoever you're working with, and like the mix bill and things like that. Like it holds a different accountability.
Absolutely.
For yourself.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
It feels so much more pure is kind of the word I've been using. And I think studio spaces were the evolution of dance, but really, truly,
this is how it started.
The beginnings were outside in fresh air with people in community. So it feels like a returning
100%
to maybe what our ancestors were exploring. And there's just something so magical about that. I feel so
just like
grateful.
Down to earth. Like down, like it takes like I think some of the entitlement and the like expectation of like, this is what I deserve to. If you don't have this, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
You don't have Marley floor? Count me out.
Right.
It's like, no, like how can we still adjust and be present and able to go different places, and places have different things to offer.
Absolutely. There are certain spaces that I've been in where all of these extra elements that we work with, the land, the weather, taking care of each other, check-ins, and truly check-ins with the weather, if it's raining or not, can change a whole day, which, like you said, causes us to drop into the moment.
And be like, what do we need right now?
Right in this moment, even if that means we have to change locations.
Yeah. And I just like that that's how Frog in Hand in general works. Like, it's not just because we're at the art shelter that they're acting that way, like I've never been in a space that did check-ins and check-outs. I've been in the professional industry now for 7 years, and I have never had that experience. So it's not just because of the weather and the accommodations and things like that. It's just them actually caring about the people that they're working with and who they have working for them. And I think that that's so beautiful. Also because the company is a lot of different ages. We have a dancer who's 19 And then we have me who's 29. There's a huge range of experience, age, all of that. And I think it's beautiful that these young dancers are having their first experience within the professional world in a space like this, so that it sets a standard and it sets a high standard, so that if they are ever in a situation where it's not like this, then there's a choice. Is this what I want? Or do I want to experience something like I experienced there? And how can they navigate what they see for their career within the places that they want to present themselves or be a part of?
Totally agree. The choice, there's an autonomy, there's a feeling that I belong in the space, and I also get to put up boundaries if need be. And for myself, that's not always given right away. Maybe it's implied but not necessarily communicated. But with Frog in Hand, there's dedicated time. And
it's in the schedule.
It's in the schedule.
It's literally...
We get paid for it.
Yes. We're there at 9:45 because we check in and we have a question of the day. It's usually how's the weather where you are? And it's just kind of like how you doing today over there? You know, like
totally. How's the weather?
How's the weather over there, guys? You know, there's some days where some of us are cloudy and foggy and misty, and some of us are sunny and whatever. And it was actually something that Alice said one day that I also have never experienced. How you come into the space is like perfectly perfect. How you are showing up today, whether that be at 30%, at 100%, at 70%, that's beautiful. We welcome that. And stay true to that. Don't force anything or put kind of like a fake facade on top of it. Like, just be unapologetically yourself in where you're at. And the moment she said that, I just like went, oh.
A relief.
I don't have to pretend that like I'm okay all the time.
It's not sustainable.
It's not.
Okay all the time.
And I don't have to pretend that I can do it all physically right away.
Right.
I think before this process, I felt a little bit paralyzed within my career and within this industry. I think like my pregnancy, I'm a mom. I'm a mother. I'm a mother. We had COVID, and then my pregnancy piggybacked on COVID. So we were off 2 years, a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then pregnancy, and then postpartum, and recovering. I wasn't in a process or in a studio working for like 3.5 years. And I had actually decided not to return. We'd had this conversation a number of times. Like I didn't think I wanted to. I didn't think there was a place for me anymore. I didn't think I could do it physically anymore. I was very scared financially about supporting my family and being there for my daughter and like what I needed to do to be a good mom or a good parent. And I felt this like wild pressure just to get a 9-to-5 and sit in a desk and have benefits and have this and have that and blah, 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 blah. And I'll be able to show up for my daughter better. And that's not true. I started taking classes again and I realized like, oh no, I love this. Like I love dancing and I love being around these humans, and I have beautiful connections and beautiful relationships, and I dove back into it head first, and I was so ready, and I had a horrible experience. And my body was questioned and my ability was questioned based on my new body type.
Which is fucked.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I also am the healthiest version of myself right now in terms of eating and fueling and taking care of myself because I have to show up for my daughter. I have a very impressionable young woman at home who I don't ever want her to feel the ways that I have felt. And then I had a horrible experience, and it made me feel paralyzed as an artist. It made me feel scared to make decisions. It made me feel scared to put myself out there because I felt so unworthy of like being in this industry and what I had to offer. Then Frog in Hand posted their summer company audition, and I went back and forth, and I talked to some people about it, and I talked to the beautiful Kelly Shaw.
Shout out to Kelly, friend of the pod.
And I was just like, I just sent her the post, and I was like, should I go? And she was like, fuck yes, you should go. And another person that was inspiring me was Julia Cratchley, like just such another strong beautiful woman in this industry that
absolutely
accepts people for exactly how and who they are. And
can confirm myself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, working with her, and that was actually my first thing I did postpartum was go to her intensive.
She is so great at body work.
Yeah, and that intensive was the moment that I was like, no, I'm supposed to be doing this.
You decided that it doesn't matter about others, it's about what you want.
Yes.
And what brings you, it sounds like joy.
Yeah.
It sounds like
and then right after that, I went into a process that was not joy, and that was hard on my body, and I would say an abuse of power within a relationship. And so then I decided to go to the Frog in Hand audition, and I did it, and it was stunning, and it was beautiful. And I actually left, and I was driving home, and I was crying because I was like, I didn't know this existed. I didn't know that there were spaces like this. I didn't know that I could show up and go up to my boss and say hey, I'm really, really anxious today. I am not feeling good. I'm at a 50%. Yeah. And them say, cool.
We'll nurture that.
Live in that 50%.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. And it, it stems from the competition world as well. Our people pleasing. Yep. Obsessive things. It's hard.
For me, it's a dancer thing.
100%.
It comes back to how well we control our bodies.
Yes.
Which includes our emotions, which includes our appetite, which includes our ability to understand how we're actually feeling. Sometimes that gets filtered or clouded by a need to impress, a need to please, a need to hit the count.
Yeah. And you really want to get the encouragement. You want to get the yes, you're just so hungry, especially when there's certain people in your life that you just don't get that from, especially when you work for someone continuously, that you just don't receive that validation. It becomes almost like an obsession. I'm gonna return until I get it. But I'm so happy that I've realized that it's okay, that's actually a me problem. This is some self-work that I have to do, that even if I got the validation, would it be enough?
Right.
It's probably it's like chasing the high.
Myself as well. Yeah, probably not. I can't really thrive in that environment.
Yeah.
It's more so an anxiety-ridden response. Oh, everything is wrong, so I must make it better.
Yeah.
And sacrifice
I'm not doing enough.
True feelings.
Yeah.
So such a disappointing thing that we've
normalized
for many years. Yeah.
And then there's companies like this that are so beautiful and so nurturing, but also they also have a high standard. They do expect us to show up ready, we of course we still need to be in shape, but they would never comment on what that means, but we have to be ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to be taking care of our bodies, we have to be smart, we have to, you know what I mean? There's still standards within these spaces, and discipline.
Sure.
And
8 hours a day.
Yeah, we're dancing 8 hours a day. But there's space to take care of yourself. So I just think that that's just a beautiful experience for a lot of these young dancers right now. And I hope that they all take that and don't waver in that standard. Because since I am a mom, I feel like such a mama bear to a lot of these.
Sometimes I'll just look over in between a rehearsal or something, and Taylor's just checking in with someone or giving them electrolytes. And I believe that that's not just your mom response, but your generosity.
Yeah.
That's a part of who you are. But I'm sure it's sort of been... Well, and even yesterday you brought Ilsa in.
Oh my gosh, that was stunning.
Can we talk about that moment? Again, just going back to how the company takes all of our needs into concern. Elsa was in rehearsal with us. And we were...
And it was a last minute thing. And I just went and I was like, hey, this is the situation in my life right now. I need my daughter here. Or just I need to be with my daughter if it's an option for her to come here. And right away, Alice was like, yep. And Colleen was like, well, yeah, because I'm leading rehearsal, so she's going to be with Alice or whatever. And I was just like, oh my God. Wow.
And it didn't distract anything. If
because
anything,
that's the
it
thing.
allowed us to be fueled by her.
Kids know, they know when a space is safe.
Right.
And that's something she has taught me so clearly, because they show up unapologetically and so authentically themselves into every situation. Children are so vulnerable in the most beautiful way. There's no expectation. And it's just, this is me. Yeah. I'm here. I might take a little bit to warm up to you.
Sure. As she should.
Yeah. And we got here, and right away it was just so amazing and welcoming. And I was really anxious, and I kept saying to her in the car, I'm like, are you gonna be a good girl? Like, mama, you're gonna watch mama dancing? Are you excited to watch mama dance? Because she's come to my teaching and she's come to things like that. She's been to one rehearsal, but she didn't do well.
I see.
But it was in that last process. She didn't do well in that space.
That makes sense.
And my parents actually had to take her and leave. She kept crying, and she was really anxious, and she was really emotional in that room. And yeah, so my parents actually took her and left.
Oh, I can imagine that was difficult.
Yeah.
To navigate.
But then here it was beautiful, and Mika did this amazing exercise with us, and it was just witnessing.
I cried. Full tears breakdown.
I couldn't even look at you because I was also so emotional. Like,
yeah.
So Alice was my partner, and me and Ilsa were sitting watching her first, and just like sitting there and watching my colleagues and my friends dance in this really, really vulnerable exercise with my daughter in my lap. And I could feel her energy. Like, she was nervous and she was a little bit tense. But then after like 5 minutes into it, she just released and like leaned into me. And then she just sat there. Because you guys were moving for what, like 25 minutes?
Yeah, we had 25 minutes of just straight on presence.
Yeah. And just us witnessing you, and your eyes were closed, so you didn't even see what was happening around you.
It's just me and my world. So vulnerable, but it's because the energy that we've already cultivated as a company.
Yes.
Even in week 4. Like already, even I would say
even when we did the witnessing 3. With Andrew,
absolutely,
in those classes, like
it did not take
one
long.
Person stood up and we just spent time staring into somebody's eyes, and then we would go to the next and the next and the next, and that moment was when it sunk in, like, I am so safe here. These people not only are my colleagues and my friends, but like it's a family, and if I needed something or needed support or whatever, like they would be there.
Yeah.
And I felt that with Ilsa. She just settled and released into the space. And then she started getting excited and wanting to dance. And she was like dancing around the space. And it was so beautiful that people were crying and people were emotional. But then you would hear her little laugh in the background. Yeah. And then people would just have a smile on their face. Because it's like, children are the most beautiful medicine because they don't understand the emotional side of things, and they don't understand those emotional feelings or regulating that yet. Like, they just live in the moment truly all the time. But then when we switched partners and I had to do it, I was a little bit anxious because I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get to do this exercise at all. What am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to get to do this exercise with my daughter.
That was so special when I looked over and your eyes are closed and you're holding her and allowing the two of you to kind of feel it together. And you like dropped and came up with her sometimes and allowed it to be a little bit playful and silly, which is also presence, a mindfulness of being in the silliness together.
Yeah. It just connected me back to like those first few months of motherhood where I was so scared and so alone and so sad. And I would hold her, or I would have her in her carrier and strapped to me. And just like that energy and that weight and that connection, just, it's unexplainable. Any mother can just be like, I just can't explain it. And we were just dancing. And again, I just felt her like sink into me. And then we were just moving together. And it didn't feel forced. Like I wasn't like, you have to be doing this. She wanted to be there. She wanted to be participating. And also she was allowed to.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was beautiful. And then we got into choreography and running the fall, and she got to watch a little bit, but then she also got to play and run around, and she was loud and she was laughing and yelling, but I was so nervous that people were going to be annoyed or frustrated, but it was just accepted and understood.
That side of a child's play is really what I'm always seeking in my process, you know,
right?
Always wanting to get back to that part of myself, that inner child. Certainly, I think when it comes to all the clowning work we've been doing,
yes,
you know, there's so much to learn from a child, their sense of wonder, and how they can laugh at even just the simplest things.
Yeah. And I also just am so amazed that I forget that when she sees things, like all of these things are her seeing it for the very first time.
Right.
Like an ant on the floor. oh, an ant can be on a wall? She's seeing an ant on a wall for the first time, or airplanes, or leaves blowing in the wind, or like there's all of these things that she's seeing for the very first time that we've been seeing for years and years and years that now we've taken for granted. And then it brings you back. It brings you back to like, oh, right, this is what life is about.
Mm-hmm.
We're not living to work. We're living to live.
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to be experiencing life and slowing down and taking it all in. And she reminds me of that.
Mm-hmm. The embodiment of those feelings. That's really where my work starts, is just, what am I feeling currently? Can I share that with others? And how do I release it in an authentic way without it feeling forced?
Yeah.
Because, a child doesn't have the theoretical.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so what are they going to think about me if I do this thing? There's a kind of curiosity that I've witnessed in her, and what I'm trying to achieve when we start our characters and our process to find our clown, like who that is. Can't find that anywhere else except a child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They don't know what judgment is.
Right.
They think everything's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so sad that we've lost that.
Mm-hmm.
But like they think everything is cool and beautiful and exciting, and there's things that are scary, but they're still curious about it and they'll still try and understand it. And then they decide if they don't like it.
Right.
It's like not pushed on them.
Yes, those boundaries can go up without being like, is it going to be received with actual connection and generosity? Something that was really sort of anchoring me in that exercise that we did yesterday with Mika is not putting up those blockages that I've learned over the years of growing up. You can't resist it. You have to, it has to exit, or else it's going to bubble up, and then it's going to turn into anger, or it's going to turn into anxiety or something.
Resentment, all of the things. Yeah. No, exactly. It was a beautiful exercise, and I think it just, again, connected us all on an even deeper level than we already are connected, and fostered like a beautiful relationship that we've all made. And it's also so nice that the people running all of this participate as well, so then we get to witness them in a vulnerable place as well. There's
an exchange there where I don't feel like my boss, my quote unquote boss, is going to be just off to the side, and it's an audition, lurking. And they're watching to see if I'm good enough, and to see if I'm producing what they want in my facility. You know what I mean? Like, it's a process is a process is a process. Like, I don't want to feel the pressure of like I'm auditioning every single day to make sure that I get hired again. I'm already hired. Like, let me live. Let me enjoy what I'm doing. I will do my best work. Actually, like, this is what I've also realized. Yes. I will do my best work when I do feel a trust from my employer that they hired me for a reason. Yeah. Well, we've talked about the micromanaging. We've both been in situations where micromanaging is, and that's inevitable within this industry. I do think that people have such a grip sometimes on things, which is fine. Yeah. But that just needs to be communicated. Yes. And I think that's how I felt. I just felt paralyzed because I didn't know where I stood, and I was being treated so poorly. And it just wasn't communicated if I wasn't. But then I was told that, I don't know. It's just, I could do my best dancing, but if you don't like what I look like, I'm not changing that for anybody. I'm laughing because it just is such a huge stigma. I mean, we don't have to get into it too much because we could go for hours. Literally hours. But personally, my body image journey really has come back to now, today, in this present moment, recognizing that it really isn't about what I look like. It's about how I feel. And I've watched dancers, and I've felt for myself, being on stage or being in front of an audience, you can tell when someone is holding back. Mm-hmm. They feel maybe this sense that their body's wrong, or that they have to like morph it. I've felt that on stage too. And then all of a sudden there's this distraction from the actual work, from the actual piece. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why do we put that on our bodies, on ourselves, on each other sometimes? I'm guilty of it as well. It really, for me, it really distracts from the art. Yes. When we have these stigmas around body. And I haven't gone through childbirth, so that I know is a whole other ballpark to be messing around in. And I've witnessed and admired you from afar, and the perseverance that you've kept within your practice. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's hard because
in general, women, when you know, you get pregnant, like that body changing is like one of the hardest things. And then I think as a dancer and an artist, it's almost amplified because we are so in tune with everything going on in our body.
Right.
I was only 3 weeks pregnant and I knew right away. I was like, no, like I am. Like, cause I just felt changes in it and it was different and things were happening that I didn't know what was going on. And when I started gaining weight and all of those things, but like I have to gain weight because I want my baby to be healthy and I want my baby to be okay. And I want to create a safe environment within my body to grow this human. And I gained weight and I was supposed to gain weight and my body was supposed to change and things move. Then when you're pregnant, things literally move and they don't go back.
Right.
Like, my hips changed and they're not gonna go back. Like,
totally.
And that's cool and that's beautiful. And I think that's beautiful.
It's birth.
Like,
it's life.
Yeah, I made a human and like then I pushed her out. And then she was alive and she still is. Like,
you did that.
And now I'm raising her and like I think it's outstanding. And I don't understand why people treat women who like go through that like they aren't literal fucking superheroes.
And then
but every single woman is too. Like because our bodies never fully feel our own through our cycle. There's like 1 week a month where we're like, oh yeah, I feel good.
No,
I feel hot. I feel sexy. I feel
onto it so
hardcore. And then it's fucking gone.
It's gone.
And you're like, I feel like death.
Yeah.
And there are some women who always feel that way because of, you know, PCOS or endometriosis or all of these other things that just make you feel like fucking shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, why can't there be space for that too?
But we make it look beautiful. We still do all that pain.
Yeah.
And we show up with whatever we want.
I went back to teaching and dancing at 4 weeks postpartum, which was silly willy. Okay. Stupid. Don't do that.
We do not condone that on this podcast.
I hope my doctor's not listening to this. But I had to because as a self-employed human, the government does not pay me maternity leave.
There we go. Look at the irony in that.
So there was, again, I have to support my family. But yeah, getting back to it was hard. I'm still figuring out what I can and can't do because there are things that, like I have an injury from my epidural. So there's certain things with my back that I used to be very, very bendy and very flexible. I'm still flexible, but I have to understand where things have changed. And there's things with my back that no go. Not happening. My hips are a lot tighter postpartum. I have to be very careful with my hips.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Also, I breastfed, so I had a lot of work that I had to find back in my posture and those muscles in my back. And like, there's so many things that people just think like, well, you should be back to normal by now.
That's ridiculous.
And actually, there's so many studies that say it can take like 5 to 6 years for women to feel fully back to normal postpartum.
Wow.
I'm only at year 2. I have so much growing and understanding to still work through. And that means mentally and physically.
Right.
There's mentally as well so much. When I went back to my first contract postpartum, Ilsa started daycare the week before I started. So I was home with her for 18 months. Right. Every day except for 1 day a week I was teaching and doing whatever dancing I could. And then she started daycare. And then I went back to dance the week later. And then I was expected to be at 100%. I was expected to be at 150%. And I was half of a human because my other half was away from me now. And I wasn't back in my body. No, and I hadn't been in a process. And I hadn't been in a studio standing on my feet for that many hours a day. And my vagina felt like it was on the floor. I actually talked to Anissa about this. And she's like, that feeling goes away, Taylor, I promise. Because when you jump, you're literally like, where'd my uterus go?
You're putting your hand up to your eyebrows right now.
Where'd it go?
Is this Anissa Tejpar?
Yes.
Oh.
We had a conversation because she came to watch a run through of the piece I was in and she was like, "That I promise that feeling goes away." And I was like, when I jump, I feel like I've left.
Where is it? Can anyone
Where'd you go,
it?
pelvic floor? So, yeah. And it's better now. Like I was nervous for 8-hour days of standing on my feet, but like, it's good. I've done a lot of work on my pelvic floor and understanding all of that. And it's crazy. It's been a crazy ride.
It has. We're only halfway, but I feel, well, Colleen said it today, there's kind of this, like, we've gone over the hill, and now we're going to end up landing down the hill towards
2 weeks of shows.
Our 2-week show, Mixed Bill.
Mixed Bill.
Maybe we'll switch gears and talk about your process you mentioned before with you're working with Griffin, the wonderful Griffin, to, if I have it right, you're creating a solo where you both choreograph on each other? No. Okay, tell me.
They're doing
I'm totally wrong.
I mean, I'm giving ideas. Like, it's very, I would say, collaborative.
Yeah,
but, like, I didn't want to choreograph at all.
I see.
This company. I think that was just another conversation I had with Kelly. She's like, you just need to decide sometimes, like, how much you want to contribute.
Capacity is
as a choreographer.
So important to establish.
And I think right now, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Give me a task and I'll improv my booty off.
You're a great vessel. An incredible vessel.
Thank you.
That booty is bumping.
Booty's bumping. But I just, right now, the pressure of creating is just overwhelming for me. So Griffin had a vision and had an idea, and it's actually so wild. So when we sat down to talk about it, the vision and the idea and the piece was literally my life right now. And I was like,
wow.
What?
Magic.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful kind of swan song, you know, like an ode to something ending and a loss of something or someone, and the stuckness of not wanting that to be over.
Oh, wow.
An image that they gave me yesterday was actually like, when you're doing that with your arms, I want you to feel like your body's continuing to grow outside of your skin.
Oof.
So it's like you're longing or you're losing something and it's continuing outside of your body. Yeah, it's just a lot of beautiful imagery, and they are such an interesting mover. So having that challenge is beautiful, and we're about halfway through now.
And then for the shows,
Griffin is doing 1 week,
right,
and then I'm doing the next week.
Wow.
So
I love that mixture of interpretation.
Yeah,
it's going to be
really, really interesting. It's going to be nice to see both.
I've never worked like that, where there's a kind of like almost like double casting, but truly I imagine it's going to completely change versus the week.
Yeah.
You know, especially since like we're also doing other pieces during it. So that's going to affect the body. Yeah,
because so the solo right now is falling in the second half of the show. So I think right now it's like 3 or 4 pieces in the beginning, and then the 2
I think you're right
after.
Yeah.
But our solo is coming right before the fall. So we're going solo, die, fall.
Die.
Just like
exhaustion.
Okay.
We don't die. This is an exhausting solo.
I think it's
like
I mean, I don't know what the second half is yet. Yeah. But so far the beginning half, it's just a different movement quality for me. Different movement quality, which makes it more difficult.
No, totally.
Yeah. So I think, and then going into the fall, which is like very physically demanding, it'll be a cool contrast, I think.
Yeah, that'll be kind of an interesting wave to ride.
And then I'm in your piece.
Yeah, totally different.
We are halfway through that too. We got halfway through today.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's fun, and it's a comedic relief, and it's, you know, not a heavy piece.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable, and it's light. It's educational.
It actually is. I wanted it to feel like by the end of it, the audience gets a lesson, but they didn't know that they were getting it either. Exactly. And it was just enjoyable. And it doesn't need to be like preachy or anything, but it's like, I'm very interested in how we can communicate information without outwardly just saying it. Yeah. I think dancers also, like, we do that all the time, where we're like gesturing to something, or we're like trying to show an emotion. Yeah. We're not outwardly saying it. Yeah. So the audience can receive it in any way that they want. Yeah. It's called Rock Floating in Space. Because that's just what we are. We are on a rock floating in space. And it's inspired by a YouTube video called History of the Entire World, I guess, by Bill Wirtz. And the speaking in it is in the piece. Like, the narration is part of it.
Go watch.
I'll link it below.
And then I'm in Vincent's piece.
Yes.
And then I'm in Deja's piece.
Deja's is fun. I'm in Deja's as well.
Yeah, so Deja, Vincent, Griffin, you, the fall.
That's a handful.
Literal handful. Yeah.
We were catching balls today.
Lacrosse balls.
Lacrosse balls. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you for that. Yep. Should be marked there.
We caught some lacrosse balls today. Working on our hand-eye coordination. And I think that's what's cool too. Like some days we're doing pliés and tendus, other days we're doing animal flow, and then other days we're doing hand-eye coordination, and then we're doing stage combat, and then we have some cool workshops next week. We're acting, we're doing clowning. Like it's
so all-encompassing, and the training is not just a traditional, it's not ballet focused.
No.
It's not about like exercising so that we can tire ourselves out so that we won't have any energy left for actual rehearsals.
Yeah. And it shows that like being an artist doesn't just have to be one thing. Sure, Andrew's working on clowning with us, but also he's working on like the emotional aspects within our acting in some of our pieces in the mixed bill. And like, there's just so many beautiful layers to all of the people that are a part of Frog in Hand. And like, and then Colleen's teaching us a plie exercise and then like teaching us stage combat stuff. And like, we're doing dive rolls and hitting people with sticks. And like, we don't feel like doing tendus today, so we're hitting people with wooden sticks instead.
Totally.
Like, it's just so well layered.
Yeah. And even like with the show, like being a mixed bill, I think the title lends itself to the experience we've been having, which is a mixture.
Yes.
A wide variety of so many things that we can kind of snack on and process and then really dive into and make mistakes on. And I'm so jazzed that we get to just show that now to the audience that comes. I was actually under the impression we were going to sort of work on one thing. Whenever we had rehearsal time, it was just one piece. Yeah.
It was just going to be one piece. I thought that too.
Which is fine.
And I was prepared mentally for that.
Literally me too.
And then we saw on the calendar, because we got the schedule early, and I think all of us saw mixed bill, and we were all like, who in the heck is mixed bill?
Right, yeah. Who's Bill and why is he mixed? Right.
And then they told us, and we had the conversation of who's looking to choreograph, who's looking to just be a dancer, who's looking to,
It reflects the experience we've been having.
And it's so funny, and I just keep thinking about this, because the first week of the company, Colleen went to a croissant class, and she learned how to make croissants. And little did she know that her company is just a beautifully made croissant with all of the layers, and it just melts in your mouth.
I love that metaphor so much.
And we are all just her little layers in the croissant.
We're just like little Pillsbury dough balls. And we're just like absorbing so
all
much.
Of the information.
Yeah. Listeners, we're, like I said, we're at the end of a long week of learning and sharing and the sun. And the sun.
Yeah.
The sun is hot.
The sun has been very hot, but also just
so fueling.
Yeah, and I just love that I'm not stuck inside all day.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Because then you're not like getting home and being like, oh my gosh, the sun is only outside for like a couple more hours, so I have to be outside and I have to, like, no.
I did my outside time.
Yeah, I can go to bed.
And it helps my sleep. I don't know if you found that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It helps, yeah.
Deep.
Oh my
Deep
gosh,
sleep.
yes. I'm exhausted by the time I get home, and also put my toddler to bed, but I'm so tired by the end of this day.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
It is worth it.
So everyone go audition next year.
Absolutely.
Also, a lot of people auditioned this year.
Yes, it was a nice community moment.
Yeah.
Of just seeing artists.
Stunning for Frog in Hand.
Absolutely. And everyone should go and get tickets for 100%.
The mixed bill.
Come
mixed
join
bill,
us.
so both weeks are different. So get one for the first week.
Yep.
And then come to a day on the second week as well.
And you gotta get your tickets soon, because we're only allowed a very small, minimal... Mumbling brie. We're only allowed a very small number
it's like
of audience
20
members. Yeah. So get it now while you can. And
they're cheap. They're
are,
affordable.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and come and join us
tickets.
off-grid.
And I think, yes, off-grid. And I think there's going to be like a little stand for like lemonade or something and like a little mingle action going on.
What more could you need?
Come see the art shelter.
It's
come
truly
see
a
us dance.
Place. Absolutely.
It's all vibes.
It's all vibes. The best ones. Taylor, where can people find you if they want to stay connected with you?
Oh, on Insta. I'm mainly on Instagram at Taylor Boj. TaylorBoj.
Thank you for that. It will be linked below.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I hope to see you at the show, everybody.
Join us because it's an experience you're going to want to actually experience for yourself in person.
And like an atmosphere and a community that you're going to want to be a part of. Because there's a lot of workshops going on here as well. They offer a lot of workshops. So I think it's a beautiful networking opportunity for a lot of artists to come and meet people and chat and understand what's happening, not only in Toronto, but in Mississauga. Like we have a lot to offer out here. So come.
I am a changed person. I was never, ever
You're
going to come
live
to
here.
Mississauga.
I'm a Mississauga-based artist now, everybody.
There it is.
It's officially in my bio.
And I don't mind it at all. I come here as much as I can now.
Yeah.
Which has been like almost every day.
It's beautiful.
It's great. You're great.
You're great.
I love you so much. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having me.
What a ride it's been.
My gosh.
For you as a human, but also as an artist.
Remember like 3 years ago when I was like, Brie, I'm pregnant.
Oh my God, I do remember that.
2. My kid's 2. I'm not okay.
Got that.
No, but like kind of 3 because like she's 2 and then I was pregnant. I've been outside in the heat all day.
I think we've said all that we need to say. I don't know. There's probably more to say. But if you're interested in staying connected with Frog in Hand, go check out their stuff. Go and come and see us in the Mixville. Yeah. Ticket will be in the description. Fired as a host, I am. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Much love.
Much love.
Boop, 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 boop.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Art Versations podcast. This podcast is crafted out of passionate community drive, and it only continues to grow with every bit of support. If you like what you heard, it would help if you took 2 minutes to leave a review. Learn more about the featured guests on the podcast Instagram at ArtVersationsPod. And don't forget to follow so you're up to date for the newest episodes. Big shout out to Jan Marquez for the marketing and branding creation of the pod. And cheers to you, listener. Till next time.